Good morning and welcome to Daily Red Devil for all of your latest Manchester United transfer news and talk. I hope everyone is doing well on this Friday morning. The weekend is here, but before we can let you enjoy your weekend, we've got a massive show to bring you guys today. So please smash a like on today's video, subscribe to the channel if you're new, and let's get straight on into it. So on the show today, we are going to be discussing a story that came out last night saying that Manchester United will have a big budget to spend this summer. So that's really, really exciting. I'll give you all the details on that. And we'll also be reacting to a story that dropped this morning from a very reliable journalist, Christian Falk, saying that apparently Manchester United have already contacted Thomas Tuchel to replace Erik ten Hag. So lots to get into on the show this morning. Loads of other bits as well. Those are the two headlines. We've got some updates on Mason Greenwood as well. Apparently Erik ten Hag wants to bring him back. Okay. Yeah, honestly, so much to get into on the show today, guys. Make sure you get in the comment section. Make sure you let me know your thoughts on everything we discuss. So let's start with Mason Greenwood then, shall we? So this has come out from a couple of different journalists this morning. And the headline is this: Mason Greenwood will apparently reject a move to Barcelona if the door is reopened for him to join Manchester United. He says Greenwood believes he has a debt to repay United fans and the manager Erik ten Hag. The story then goes on to say that Mason Greenwood thinks Manchester United is the biggest and best club in the world, and if a chance emerges for him to come back, he would. He says if United had offered him a second chance, he'd be on the quickest flight home. The story then goes on to say that Erik ten Hag is open to bringing Mason Greenwood back into the Manchester United squad. So obviously this is a story that we're going to talk about until we finally know what's happening with Mason Greenwood. We know that Atletico Madrid and Barcelona are both very, very interested in him. But from what we're hearing this morning, he only has one plan and he wants to come back to Manchester. He wants to play for Manchester United again. Now, the question is, as I've just said, Erik ten Hag wants to bring him back. But does Jim Ratcliffe want to bring him back? Does he think that's the best thing for the club? That's the biggest debate that we have to, look into. Obviously, Jim Ratcliffe, in his first interview as the new co-owner of United, did speak about Mason Greenwood. And he said something along the lines of, we'll look at it away from the internet hype. We'll look at the facts. We'll try and determine whether Mason Greenwood's a good person or not. And if he is, we'll bring him back. If he isn't, then they won't. So I would say it's 50-50 at the moment. I'd say that, Jim Ratcliffe has left the door open. But arguably, if Jim Ratcliffe came out and said at this point, Mason Greenwood has no future here, we don't want him here, then that drops his value massively, doesn't it? Whereas at the moment, Barcelona want him, Atletico Madrid want him. Obviously, Getafe would love to keep him, which is probably unrealistic. But lots of top clubs in Liga are lining up for his signature. And if Jim Ratcliffe had come out and said, oh yeah, we don't want him, we don't think he's a good person, blah, 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 then, you'd be probably looking at a couple of million for him, Whereas at the moment, all of these clubs want him. He's doing well in La Liga. Man United are kind of making out that they're going to bring him back, which only will bump up his price. So it makes a lot of sense. Do I think Manchester United will bring him back? I'd say it's 50-50, to be honest. I honestly don't know. I have no idea, really. Obviously, we know that Erik ten Hag wants to bring him back, which is obviously fine. That's up to him. We know that... what's he called? Forgotten his name. Richard Arnold wanted to bring him back, but then it got leaked by The Athletic and they changed their mind. So it's difficult, isn't it? It really, really is difficult. I think from what I've heard, the club are going to kind of seek for outside opinion, so what the fans think and stuff. We'll have to just wait and see, but it's very, very interesting. Do I think that he will go? I don't know. I honestly don't know at this stage. I think I honestly would say it's 50-50 as to whether he'll go. But then on the other hand, you've got other journalists this morning saying that Man United would be tempted to cash in on Mason Greenwood. As an academy product, the sale of the forward would be registered immediately as pure profit in the club's 2024-25 accounts, giving a major boost to the transfer budget. I mean, that makes a lot of sense, if you were to sell Mason Greenwood, if you were to sell, McTominay, if you were to sell Rashford, all of those players would be 100% profit because they've come through the youth academy. So it makes sense from a financial perspective to move him on, because if you sold him for 50 million, that's 50 million on our financials, which would be a massive, massive help for Manchester United at this moment in time. But yeah, let me know what you guys think in the comment section. I know it creates mixed opinions. I know some people want him, some people don't. So yeah, let me know what you guys think. Right, let's talk a little bit about Thomas Tuchel then, shall we? So this story has come out from Christian Falk. He is a journalist in Germany. He pretty much only reports on Bayern Munich. He reports for Sport Bild, which is obviously a massive newspaper media outlet in Germany. 400,000 followers on Twitter. And he has run with the headline this morning that Manchester United have already contacted Thomas Tuchel to replace Erik ten Hag. Okay. Obviously, you click on it then because you think, what the hell is this about? And it says that Thomas Tuchel wants to return to the Premier League this summer. It says internally at Bayern, he has said too often what is better in the Premier League. That wasn't good for his work in Munich. So he's obviously, bitter that Chelsea sacked him. It says he now has the chance to return to England in the summer. One club that is high on his wish list is Manchester United. It says there have already been contacts between Manchester United and Thomas Tuchel's management. It says should Erik ten Hag be sacked, Thomas Tuchel would definitely be high up on the list and listen to an offer from Manchester United. It says, but United shouldn't wait too long. Barcelona also has a chance with Tuchel if sporting director Deco sees him as the number one successor to Xavi. We did a poll on the channel yesterday, if we wanted to see Thomas Tuchel at the club, and I think it was 90% of you said no. So I'm not going to do a poll again. I agree. I don't want Thomas Tuchel here. Michael in the chat says Tuchel is no better than Potter. I would probably. I think that's a little bit unfair. Thomas Tuchel is definitely better than Graham Potter, but still, I don't want him at the club. Now, obviously, people are going to be getting upset about this story, but Christian Falk is a reliable journalist in Germany in the Bundesliga. You know what? I think there is some truth in this. I think that if Erik ten Hag was to be sacked, I'm sure that Thomas Tuchel would be one of the options. Like, I think we have to, plow through this story carefully, because it's not saying they're going to sack Erik ten Hag today and bring in Thomas Tuchel. They're saying that if they sacked Erik ten Hag, which at the moment they're not planning on doing, they want Erik ten Hag to succeed. They want him to keep winning. They want him to get us top four. But if he doesn't, and say we fall off the face of the cliff, which we could easily do again, we could easily lose to Fulham on Saturday, and I don't think anybody would be surprised, would they? If the results start going badly, and we finish the table in 10th or 11th, we finish the season in 10th or 11th, then maybe Erik ten Hag's job would be, at risk. And at that point, then Thomas Tuchel is one of the options on the list. It doesn't mean necessarily that Thomas Tuchel is going to be, brought in tomorrow. Like, that's not what they're saying. They're just saying that he has been contacted. He's been made alert that if Erik ten Hag was removed from his position, which looks unlikely at the moment, but maybe looked more likely a month or so ago, he would be one of the options. So that's how you've got to look through this story. Robert says, Man United going for Tuchel means United are going backwards. Yes, I would agree with you. Peter says, I'd love to see Zidane at Manchester United. I mean, Zidane is obviously a good coach, but for me, I would honestly rather stick with Erik ten Hag personally. Zane says, the manager market is going to be hard. Liverpool, Barca and Bayern all looking for managers. You know what, guys, all right? This is just my opinion, okay? So just to be very, very clear on this show, when I give you a story, I'll tell you where the source is from, okay? And then I'll give my opinion on whether I think it's true or not, because half the time these stories are rubbish. Like, we all know that. Half the time it's just journalists trying to get clicks. But what I'm going to say to you now is just purely my opinion, okay? So just so people don't start saying, where did this source come from or whatever, because this what I'm going to say now is my opinion. But I honestly can see Erik ten Hag going to Bayern Munich. I just honestly think it's written in the stars. For me personally, I was talking to my friend about this yesterday. Just to be very clear, I want Erik ten Hag to stay at Manchester United, 100%. I think he's the right man for the job. Even if we don't get top four, I want him to stay beyond this season, 100%. But when I actually look at it from an outside perspective, and I look at all the facts, right? Erik ten Hag was the manager of Bayern Munich under-21s when Pep was there. So he already has a relationship with Bayern Munich, okay? Already has that relationship. We know that Bayern Munich obviously like him, otherwise they wouldn't have given him the job as the under-21 manager. He did well there, and then he went to Ajax. Look at the top targets that Erik ten Hag has wanted over the last kind of couple of years. Have a look through them. So one of them, De Ligt. We know that he wants De Ligt. We're constantly linked to De Ligt, that Erik ten Hag wants to reunite with De Ligt at Man United. That's one. Okay? 2, Harry Kane. We know that all of last summer, I know everyone's happy with Rasmus Højlund. I am as well. I couldn't be happier with Højlund. But we know for a fact that Erik ten Hag wanted Harry Kane. He didn't get him. And he went to Bayern Munich. You look through some of the other players in the Bayern Munich squad as well that we've been linked to heavily and that Erik ten Hag really wants to bring in, the people like Goretzka, Joshua Kimmich. There's literally like 4 or 5 players in that squad that Erik ten Hag has been desperate to sign. Another one, Kim Min-jae. Our number one defensive target for last summer was Kim Min-jae. Bayern Munich beat us to him. So even if you look in the last 12 months, right, our number one striker target last summer went to Bayern. Our number one centre-back target, Kim Min-jae, went to Bayern. The player we're linked to the most at the moment in defence, one of them even is De Ligt. He's at Bayern. And Bayern need a new manager. I just have this funny feeling that it's going to happen. I don't want it to happen. Again, as I want to emphasise, this is an opinion. This is an opinion, okay? This isn't sourced from anywhere. This is just me looking at football and giving my opinion. Chris says, this is what kills me about the Erik ten Hag out clown brigade. If we fired Erik ten Hag, he'd be back in a job at a top club within 2 months. 100%, mate, without a shadow of a doubt. And the thing you have to remember as well, right, just to add a bit more fuel to the fire, Erik ten Hag only has 1 year left on his Manchester United contract. So if he gets to the summer and, Man United tell him that they're not going to extend his contract, they're going to take away all of his power, he's not allowed to sign players anymore, he's got to play a certain style of football, blah, blah, blah. Everything's going to change in the summer. It's not going to be the Erik ten Hag show anymore. It's going to be the Jim Ratcliffe, the Omar Barada, the Dan Ashworth show. At the moment, Erik ten Hag has walked into the biggest club in the world with John Murtough and Richard Arnold as his 2 peers, who are both a bunch of muppets. Let's be honest, okay? They're both a bunch of muppets, realistically, and they're not specialists in football. He's walked in, been given the keys to the biggest kingdom in world football, and been allowed to do whatever he wants. Whereas now, he's going to have to report to Dan Ashworth, to Dave Brailsford, Omar Barada. All of these people are going to be above of him. Zayn says Mazurai, the right back, is also an Erik ten Hag player as well. Yeah, that's the thing. You've got to imagine that you're in the boardroom at Bayern Munich and they're sat there thinking, right, Erik ten Hag, he has a relationship with this club. We know that he wants to have this job at some point in his career. We know that there's 5 or 6 players in this squad that he wanted to sign at Man United. There's a few players here who he had at Ajax before. We know that Erik ten Hag would absolutely destroy the Bundesliga. I'm sure of it. I think he would win the Champions League with Bayern Munich as well. I'm confident of that. We saw Bayern Munich's squad against us. They're elite. But anyway, this is just my opinion. Let me know what you guys think. I just honestly have this feeling inside of me that I can just see Erik ten Hag at Bayern Munich. I can just see it, Right, let's move on to something else though. So let's talk a little bit about the budget for this summer. So there was quite a few different journalists coming out of this story last night that apparently Man United's budget for the 2024 season, the summer, sorry. Yeah, so 2024-25. Because our revenue has risen massively, it's risen from 477 million to 648 million. And I've seen a couple of people put out these tweets where they've gone really, really in depth about financial fair play and all of this stuff. And I'll just give you the headlines because honestly, some of the stuff I've been reading is 10 pages long and it takes a while to get through it all. They've done spreadsheets and all of this stuff where they've shown you all of the costs, all of this stuff over the last 4 years. I find it all really interesting, but I know some people won't want me to talk about that for 20 minutes. So you're only allowed to lose a certain amount of money each season, okay? So each season you're only allowed to lose £105 million total. Sorry, it's over 3 seasons. So over 3 seasons, 2022 to 2025, you're allowed to lose nothing more than 105 million. So this guy's worked out all of these things based on us. I think he's worked it out based on us qualifying for the Europa, where we are in the Premier League at the moment, blah, blah, blah. And he's come out with the figure that because obviously transfers are spread out over, you don't pay, if we went and signed Todibo today for 30 million, you'd pay that probably over 3 seasons, right? So it'd be 10 million each season. And this guy's worked out that, if we were to sell people like Greenwood, Wan-Bissaka, Varane, Casemiro, that we would be able to spend somewhere around 300 million, roughly. Obviously, that's with player sales. That's if people like Sancho went, et cetera, et cetera. And we could, in theory, have a summer like what Chelsea did, where it could even go higher than that. It could be as high as 5 million, he's calculated. He's done all these different options where, if we were to sell 10 players, we could probably spend about 500 million because the thing you have to remember as well is wages is part of this calculation. And obviously some of these players at Man United are on absolutely ridiculous wages. You look at people like Varane, you look at people like Casemiro. Like, if they're moved on, Varane's wages is 14 million on his own. Wan-Bissaka's are nearly on 10 million, like, etc., etc. Even people like Brandon Williams on 3 million a year, Martial on 13 million a year. Like, Amrabat and Reguilon were on 17 million a year combined. Like, alone, just with removing some players, we'd save around 80 million in wages each season, which is crazy when you break that down. So you can see where this money comes from. And we've just got to wait and see what happens in the summer. But yeah, from what I'm reading today, it looks like our budget will be better than what's being led on, what we're being led to believe. But at the same time, you do expect Jim Ratcliffe to say, oh, we're working under financial fair play, our budget isn't big, because the first few weeks of the window, I think Jim Ratcliffe and, Dan Ashworth and Omar Barada are going to go out there and sign our players. They're going to go out and sign 3 or 4 people within the first couple of weeks. That's what will happen, I think. Chris says you have to pay wages to sign new players. Signing bonuses, Sancho will cost us money. Yeah, that's right, mate. But we're not going to be giving out 350 grand a week salaries anymore. Elise, he's our number one target for the wing position. Elise at Crystal Palace at the moment is currently earning, let me just have a quick look. He's currently earning 100 grand a week, Michael Elise. So even if you gave him 150 grand a week, that's still 200 grand a week less than what Sancho's on. What's that over the space of a year? 200 times 52 weeks in a year. It's about 11 million pounds. So if I said to you, right, you sign Elise, and then you get rid of Sancho, and you give Elise 150 grand a week, you'd be saving about 10 million versus what you were paying Sancho. So, like, you have to look at it like that. Someone like Jean-Claire Todibo, he's another example, okay? Obviously, playing at Nice at the moment, coming to Manchester United, and you're thinking, oh, is he going to be on 300 grand a week? Todibo currently earns £20,000 a week at Nice. 20. I mean, I wouldn't be giving him any more than 60 grand a week at United. That's tripling his wage. When you compare that with Varane leaving the club, he's on 350 grand a week. It's about 20 million a season. Versus giving Todibo earns £1 million a season, pounds, at Nice at the moment. If you tripled that for him, right, he'd be on £3 million a season. You get rid of Varane, who was on I think he's on 18, 19 a season. That's you saving £16 million a year in wages off one player. And as I said, it's done over a 3-year period. So that 16 million or whatever I just said over a 3-year period, that's nearly £50 million that you've saved. So you've got to look at it bigger picture. And I think that from what I'm seeing, Sir Jim Ratcliffe will be looking to bring in players on lower wages with lower transfer fees, and that will be the kind of model going forward. Robert says, I don't think Klopp would go to Bayern, would he? I don't think Klopp will go to Bayern this summer. Apparently Klopp's going to take a year out of football. Klopp will come back to management 100%. He's not done for good. He just, for whatever reason, he's decided that he doesn't want to be at Liverpool anymore. And he's going to take a year out. Maybe he just needs a break. That's obviously completely fair enough. But I don't think Klopp will be at Bayern Munich personally. I mean, stranger things can happen. Maybe this is all a big lie and he is just going to go to Bayern, but I don't think so personally. Fred says, why aren't we hearing anything about Bayern Munich's new manager choices? Well, we know that they're interested in Xabi Alonso. There's a couple of others as well, isn't there? Al says, the fans are going to be disappointed when we don't get mega signings. I don't know. I don't think they will, mate. I don't think they will. I think the fans will understand that we're trying to change our ways. And I think that, I'm not going to be sad if we don't sign up Victor Osimhen, or someone like that. If we went and get someone like Todibo, we get Michael Elise, we get some younger players. Maybe you go and get, a younger striker. I'll be happy. I will. But I'm going to wrap the video up here, guys. I will be back this evening at 6:00. I hope everyone has a great evening, a great day. Please smash a like on the video before you go. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. This has been Daily Red Devil. Have a great day, everybody, and I'll speak to you all later.